That's, of course, a very personal decision because some people have moral objections, some people have religious objections. I believe the couples should live together before they get married.
Well, I think it's a complex question. It's not an easy answer because if the ultimate convention is to get married, then I think the answer is no.
Couples should consider carefully whether they live together. I don't think it's right or wrong either way.
So I do not believe that couples need to live together before marriage.
No, I do not think couples should cohabitate before they're married.
I believe that couples should live together before marriage.
I believe that couples should not be living together before marriage.
I believe couples should live together before marriage.
I do not think couples should live together before marriage.
No, couples should not live before marriage.
That is because when you marry someone and you live with them all the time, it's not dating, it's not even about love. It's about being with that person, good and bad. Because once you realize the things that pull you together and the things that pull you apart, you can have a more successful marriage.
Because we are emotionally based animals and we assess value sometimes based on romance or love and other times based on habit. There is no commitment. It's easier to separate and to say it's not working.
Because everyone is individual, and the reasons why to cohabitate have to be weighed very, very carefully. Is it economic, or is it to see if you are compatible with each other? You have to be very careful about why you want to cohabitate and then make a decision from that.
Having a healthy relationship is getting to know each other without strings being necessarily attached. The types of expectations that you have of a person at the boyfriend-girlfriend stage is completely different. Living apart, missing each other for a little bit in between, having a place where you can go and retreat to that's your own, that you don't have to rely on anybody for, helps you to develop a healthy sense of what a relationship is.
I have 3 reasons why. Number 1 is spiritually. So I'm a Christian, and by my Christian faith, we do not believe in cohabitation before marriage. Secondly would be economically. If something happens and you break up, if you co-sign on a loan, or if you co-sign on a lease, or God forbid you co-sign on a house, 30, 40 year, commitment, now you're gone. And thirdly, emotionally. So the latest study, the 2019 study on marriage and cohabitation, they found that there are higher levels of trust and satisfaction among married couples than cohabitating adults.
The reason that they should get to know the living experience with each other before they commit to something as long-term as marriage. A lot of issues can pop up, like just how you react to living with the other person, how their personality really is once you have to see each other every single day, or anything like that. So it's important that you know these things before you commit to something as long-term as marriage.
Is because I believe that that's something that only marriages fully get to be able to enjoy full on. Whereas when you're not married and you're just, let's say, boyfriend and girlfriend, when you guys live together, that just kind of takes away the value of why we get married, why we start a family, why, everything that leads to beautiful moments, which is marriage.
Because at least in my personal opinion, I think they should get to know each other. You should be able to learn how to live with that person.
The institution of marriage and keeping stuff a mystery and building towards some intimate parts is important to keeping marriage together and having that commitment. Even if you snore, even if we fight, I will not leave and this is forever. It's very important.
Because people usually tend to get bored, and that may cause an early divorce or a break in the relationship before they can even establish a marriage.
I've always felt that way. So before I had the experience, I wanted to have the experience. Since I was in my 20s, I wanted to be in a permanent relationship. Got married the first time in my 20s. Got married the second time in my 50s. And both times I lived together with the person that I eventually married, which I think was a good decision.
The reason that I think that is not overly prescriptive. My parents spent 50 years together. But
Married twice. First time I was married, we did not live together. The second time I got married, we did live together. It was mainly for economic reasons. We knew how we felt about each other before we decided to live together, my second marriage. Well, it depends on the circumstances. There wasn't really opportunity for us to live together before in my first marriage, which lasted 5 years. This one, 25 years in January.
My family raised me to be independent, to not have to rely on anyone for anything, and to do things on my own. It wasn't until I lived by myself that I really realized the inner peace and the confidence that I got from being able to take care of myself and do things for myself. I didn't have to compromise my standards or my requirements for anybody.
So the reason why I think this way would be my faith, as I mentioned earlier, but also I think it's more is caught than taught. And so I grew up in a two-parent home. My parents were married before they had me.
It's mostly because of my parents. My parents were divorced and then my mother remarried. Really big part of the issue was that my mother was not familiar with like the day-to-day personality of my biological father. To her second marriage, I think my parents might have lived together for like definitely more than a decade before they ever even like got close to getting married.
System. So, my faith has definitely showed me that no one should have me in any way until I know that it's a full commitment, which is through marriage. I also have my parents who have taught me the same thing. I know that I am worth a lot just to be just living with people left and right.
Is because I have seen many couples fail in their relationships once they have cohabited with each other. So I believe that they should not live together due to that reason.
I think this way because I have a lot of family members who didn't get married and are right now living alone. I don't want to be like that, and the reason they are like that is because they were too selective with their partners and they lived before marriage.
You can't do it differently. You have to do what you are. You have to act according to who you are. What I did then made me who I am now. And so I want to be who I am now.
if I were to do it all over again, which I absolutely do not want to do, but if I were to do it again, I think one of the things I would really focus on is my self-awareness, my self-confidence.
I don't think that I would do anything differently. I know now how beneficial it is to live by yourself.
Thinking back, if I were to do it over again, because I've done it both ways, I probably wouldn't have done anything differently.
Honestly, I wouldn't do nothing differently.
What advice would I give to the younger generation, to you, to my class, to my younger children? I think the best advice that I could give is to know who you are, to know what you want, and to not make any permanent decisions that could affect your future.
So what I would say to millennials and post-millennials is not unlike what we've covered in the classes in Psych 200. The prefrontal cortex is, the executive decision function of the brain. And most of those decisions are based on our experiences. And the more experiences we have, the more strategic we can be, the more abstract we can be in our thinking. And so I think this idea of cohabitation at a point when you're still learning yourself makes it difficult, because now you're influenced by someone else and you're still trying to figure out yourself. I would recommend that people would look how to satisfy their own needs, first become fully self-aware, self-confident, and once you're capable of that introspectively as a single person, then I think you can contribute more to someone else.
Any advice I would give about living together before getting married would be basically look to yourself. And if you're trying to decide if you would get along with each other, then maybe that's not the reason to live together. Maybe it's for more economic reasons, or for just trying to get a sense.
So my advice to the younger generation would be not to cohabitate before marriage. You have a lifetime ahead of you to get married, to live with someone, to experience, what it's like to compromise within a family or within a relationship. But don't cut your life short. Don't cut your life experiences short too soon by cohabitating with someone. You still have a lot of experiences in which to interact with.
Instead of cohabitating, what's better would be good premarital counseling. So we found out if we're a good connection, if we have the same worldview. We met, obviously she met my parents, I met her parents. Do you get along with your in-laws? Because when you get married, what's different between marriage and cohabitating is you become a real team. My wife took my last name. When you are cohabitating, you're just two people in the same house. You don't have the same finances, you don't have the same anything. And so you start preparing by talking about these issues and make sure you're in agreement before you say I do, before you tie the knot, so to speak. So I would encourage everyone to do that. When you get engaged, get good premarital, talk about the real big issues, then get married.